has also forced the world to change, and a lot of people have tried and realized that, the potential, and a lot of faculty have tried and learned that, they can deliver extremely good teaching and learning experiences through this. And of course, there's been, could they demand, a lot of players coming, and there's a lot of diversity in the quality what's out there. And our participants are the people who are listening to us. They should try, and they're going to see there is diversity, and there are better things, and things are not that good. And some of them add relevance, add value, and others don't as much, sometimes for no fault of the content itself that they are offering, but for the way it is structured. And that's one of the good things that we think about it. The medium and the way you think about delivering content and delivering learning can make a huge difference. And there's a lot of diversity and a lot of a lot of players with varying quality. And I would like to think that we seem to be getting it as good as one can get in the current state of technology, but technology is evolving, and we want to be ready for each wave of technology to be first adopters and make the most of it at any point in time.
Yeah, that's a great segue into the next question. I mean, you've been kind of diving deep into all things HBS Online over the last few months. So as you kind of step back and think about, the priorities, we're a startup as well within the school. So what do you think are the, top 2 to 3 priorities for HBS Online to focus on?
I mean, I think we are always looking for what's the next technology, what are the next methodology that's going to help us to improve the learning experience of our participants. And that sounds like boilerplate, but I promise you are listening, watching to us, that's not boilerplate. That's exactly what's happening. We think mutual learning and engagement and community building is very important. And we are constantly thinking of ways how we can improve that, because we really think that's what leads to how many people are interested in this, because they are truly feel they're truly members of this community. So, how do we empower our participants? How we facilitate the communication with each other and the learning from each other? That's one of the things that I think we are, we think that's in itself an enormous opportunity. And I think we are getting better than many other players out there in trying to engage in that and trying to improve it. There's another, so how do we develop new tools for community building? That's one of the big opportunities for us, right? There's another one, which is our programs are certificate programs. Right. And I think it's important that a certificate reflect the value that we added. And I think it's important that there's engagement and that we do, and that it reflects knowledge that has been acquired. So I think we are, there is, how do we do assessments within one course? How do we make sure that people are learning, not just for the sake of the certificate, for their own sake, that they cannot see at every point, am I really learning? If not, what do I need to do to actually learn? Because when they come here, they come with a true and sincere spirit of learning, right? So how do you use artificial intelligence and many other type of algorithms and technologies to be able to improve on how people can assess themselves in how much they are learning? I think that's, how do we ensure that you feel that you have internalized your learning in a program? I think that's an opportunity. We are working, and we should, it's a great opportunity, and that's one we are working on. And there is also a component that, or as our participants are listening to us know, and we have emphasized in this talk and this webinar, is each program is on its own, is comprehensive, right. It's engaged in itself. But, there is this component that, we might think about how we go into creating individual components of learning for right. people who might be interested in singular pieces that they need, right? rather than a comprehensive program.
A more
So I think
modular
great,
approach.
exactly. And that's a great opportunity that is out there. I think, Simeen, we have been talking about that. We have some level of dissatisfaction what we see in the marketplace. And we want to think about what would be the way of doing it that kind of build into interactive learning, that builds into decision-making oriented, that build into community building, but in more concentrated doses if you want, because people might be interested in one specific thing that they need. And I think that engages with where I think we are going, which is lifelong learning in these competitive societies. These are societies of knowledge. And if you think about the future and how these our programs are ideal instruments for lifelong learning, but there might be things that come out specifically at work or in life in general, and people want to learn that specific component. How do we serve that need, right? And I think that's a great opportunity on which, as you know, we're thinking how we go about that. Yeah,
that's great. So shifting gears a little bit and maybe on the theme of lifelong learning, given that you've taught in so many programs across the school, you know, a common question that comes up with our audience is, what advice would you have for aspiring leaders? And then the layer that I'll add to that is, particularly in this past year and a half, does that advice change when you're under a global pandemic, or is it still the fundamentals?
I mean, I think lifelong learning is what characterizes our societies today. And I think it is very important. I'm a teacher, so you will hear from me, you need to keep learning. And you might say, that's what Luis would say, but I really think it's true. I really think it's true. And I think it's important for people to ask themselves, and challenge themselves, right? I'm a swimmer. I like swim with my team. And I have learned over a lifetime, swimming is a very technique based. And I learned that you can improve your technique day in and day out. You need to practice, and you need to let others observe you and give you feedback and teach you, and then have this learning spirit to get better. Because when you get better, you make others better. You are swimming in a team, you're swimming in a lane, and you get better at swimming. You help your lane mates, you make them better. Everyone can swim together much better. So, I think it's important to question yourself, to not be afraid to challenge yourself, to think you are never done with learning. We just learned from the New York Times yesterday that metabolism doesn't slow down as early as we thought. So I want to say our brains don't slow down. It's just a matter of keeping that muscle working. And if you do it, you will have I have learned that, and that's why I'm here. And I'm an academic, and I'm in an institution like Harvard, because I feel like it keeps me excited to learn new things and to do new things. And with that come an element which is very important I think in the pandemic has become. I tend to have these slogans back on these sentences back on my screen. I change it periodically, and when I don't have one, people ask me, Luis, what is that? So I put one I put really early on, and I thought I would put it, which is this famous phrase about no man is an island. I would say today would say no person is an island, no human being is an island. And I think we have learned that in the pandemic big time.
Yeah.
So I think having empathy and observe what's around you and understanding the context where you are and try to understand others actually can make you become better. And I think we have learned that big time during the pandemic by being forced to be isolated and relate to others just through what we are doing now through a Zoom screen. And I think just that community building, that interaction with others, that empathy for others can actually make you a better learner and make you realize what are the gradients in which I can become myself better, because I will also make others better doing that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, such an important lesson through the past year and a half.
Yeah.
So how do you see, now that you're more familiar with HBS Online, how do you see our courses helping people kind of in their career development, job search, other aspects of their lives?
Well, we are a business school, and within a business school, I'm a finance professor. So I think these programs are not persuaded, looking at, now that we have been running them for a number of years. They have a great return on investment.
Mm.
I used to run, when I was course head for the finance class, the first year MBA students take, I wrote a case on a big university, for-profit university, and we use that as an excuse to understand what is the IRR of your MBA. And we gave the students data on themselves and a spreadsheet so they could understand what is the typical IRR for a HBS MBA versus this other. And learning that even in this for-profit university, you actually completed your degree. We gave them data. You took it seriously. You completed, like all participants tend to do. The vast majority of them, in more than 90% of them, complete their program. They see change in their lives. Yeah. There is the internal satisfaction I learned. There's the external satisfaction I made other people better. But beyond that, we have, objective data that people say 90% of them that makes them more confident. And we know confidence and, self-confidence can make a difference how good you can be at what you do. 25% have received a promotion in work. More than 50% of them have seen that even if they didn't get a promotion, they are actually getting more responsibilities within their jobs. So they are being seen by leaders, by their peers. They have been attracting more attention from recruiters. And something our MBAs and many of our executive education program participants do, which is they change fields. Yeah. And about 1/3 of our participants, the program like that motivated them to think about, well, there's something else I want to do in life. And I'm important. It doesn't matter what my age is. If I challenge myself, if I learn, I can set a new path for me in life. And we have seen a big percentage of them that this motivated them to discover that, they wanted to do something else in life, and they have gone and do them. So I think on those grounds that I'm using a financial, being a finance professor, I think ROI, a great return on investment, or a great internal rate of return on IRR. So I think I think we objectively, we can say that from our programs.
Yeah, no, and I think that's something our audience can definitely relate to and are looking for as well. So with that, I'm going to switch over to some audience questions, which we're starting to get in here. So the first one is one actually I can jump in and answer. So is there a plan to introduce more certificates of specialization? So as many of you know in the audience, we introduced 2 certificates of specialization back in May, one in the strategy area and one in leadership and management. And essentially, this certificate enables people to demonstrate more mastery in a particular topic area. So we are planning on launching more certificates of specialization, particularly as our course catalog grows. So the next 2 that we're hoping to launch are in finance and accounting and also in entrepreneurship. So those are ones that we're hoping down the line that we will launch as our catalog grows and as we have more and more courses available for participants.
I mean, I would add to that, Simeen, that, this is a growth organization within HBS. It's more about our capacity to produce, not about ideas about, and definitely you were to HBS Publishing and so the catalog of cases or HBR articles is just an enormous library because we have been doing this for more than 100 years. Yeah. HBS Online is a baby now, yeah. But it's a baby that's growing fast. Yep. And it's growing very healthily. And it's a baby who really wants to, add more things. So, it's, as we constantly are thinking about how we grow our offerings to help our participants always. Yeah.
Oh, great. So another question coming in and maybe elaborating, and you've touched upon some of these topics, but what is the biggest challenge in education and how is HBS going to accept that challenge? So I think you've talked a little bit about some of those, but maybe elaborating on your thoughts in that space.
I mean, I think one thing that, organizations like HBS Online and generally all these organizations are doing with new technologies is the issue of high quality education being accessible to a lot more people than used to be. You don't need to be in Cambridge now to offer the best that Cambridge can offer to the world. You don't have to come to Cambridge anymore. But we need to do it in a way that doesn't sound, I want to use an example here on my own. I watch PBS science documentaries, and when I'm watching them, I think, oh my God, when I finish, I feel like a Nobel Prize in chemistry or biology or medicine. And 10 minutes later, you ask me, and I remember 10% of that, right? Because it was sort of, so we need to do it in ways that really engage people, as we said, and really help them internalize learning. And I think that's the big challenge, but that's where we want to move in a way that makes things a lot more accessibility and engagement that helps people to internalize learning, that they just don't feel like they are good watching something, but something that they feel they are learning with whoever is on the other side of the other screen. And I think accessibility is a big change, is a big challenge for all of us.
Right.
As you know, we are working hard on that and on initiatives around that, and making our programs accessible to as many people as we can in the world, and programs that really add value to them. They are not just wonderful documentaries, but documentaries that stay in your mind and yourself for a long time, right?
So just being conscious of the time here, one more question from the audience. This is a question from Larissa, who would like to know more about the HBS Online pedagogical approach to team-based and project-based learning. So any thoughts that you have around team-based learning? And executive education does a lot of this as well.
Executive education and the MBA program are designed for that. Just in executive education, I know we are short of time, but very, very briefly, is the only organization, executive education in the world, when people who come to campus stay in campus,
right?
All of them. And not only stay in campus in like akin to hotel rooms, they stay, we have designed our buildings, when you come to a program, you are put together in what we call a living group. And while you are here, the first contact is you are with another 5 people, where you discuss the cases, you learn with them, then you go and discuss with the rest of your class. And then there's all this interaction with other living groups and in projects and case preparation and in dinners and in lunches. It becomes an incredibly intensive experience of interaction, constant interaction. And the MBA is like 2 years on steroids doing that. And that's what we try to do with HBS Online. That was one of the main challenges. How do we design these programs? There's community building, there's mutual interaction, and how that's one of the big challenges for us. How can we build teamwork into these programs? And the community challenge actually has come on straight out of that. How do we do that? And as you know, it's done with kind of participating chapters, with teams. At the very end of the day, they're working together. I think it's an extraordinarily good question. I think that's what helped actually the interaction in smaller groups in team building actually leads to more internalization of learning and more long-lasting learning, because you are forced to kind of confront what you're learning in practicing in some kind of project and interacting with people. Yeah.
Great. So I think that's a perfect place to end our discussion. Thank you very much, Luis, for spending the time with us. And thank you to the audience for joining us today. And for those of you who will watch these afterwards, keep sending in your questions. I think your questions make us better and make us think about HBS Online in different ways. So thank you. Any last words, Luis, from you?
Just to thank the audience for being with us today. It's a great opportunity for me to think about these questions, and hopefully when we have, for those participants in our programs, soon we'll have another of our gatherings in campus, and I'm looking forward to meeting people in person as well. Thank you everyone for being with us.